Today is the final day of 2025, a moment that invites reflection as the year draws to a close and the city awakens to a crisp December morning. The air is filled with a sense of both routine and quiet anticipation, as Londoners go about their day, perhaps unaware of the historical significance this date now holds. It has now been over 9 years since the United Kingdom made the momentous decision to leave the European Union, a choice that would set the nation on a new and uncertain path. The echoes of that June 2016 vote still resonate, shaping the country's identity and its place in the world. The referendum triggered a period of profound political and economic change, sending shockwaves through government and society. In the years that followed, leaders like Theresa May and Boris Johnson grappled with the immense challenge of redefining the UK's future, culminating in the country's official departure from the EU in January 2020. And Daini, Shrouded, and cooperation agreement signed after months of tense negotiations established a new, more distant relationship with the EU. It introduced fresh barriers to trade, travel, and mobility, fundamentally altering how businesses operate and how people move between the UK and the continent. In the early days, Brexit debates were deeply polarized, with passionate arguments on both sides. Predictions ranged from economic disaster to national renewal, and the country seemed divided not just by policy but by identity and vision for the future. Now, with nearly a decade of data and lived experience, we can move beyond the heated rhetoric. We have the opportunity to assess the real outcomes, what has changed, what has remained the same, and what the numbers truly reveal about the impact of Brexit. The UK's path since 2016 has been shaped not only by Brexit, but also by the global pandemic and shifting international dynamics. Untangling the effects of these overlapping events is essential to understanding where the country stands today and what challenges and opportunities lie ahead. In this analysis, we focus on two critical areas: the economic impact of Brexit and the political consequences that have unfolded over the past 9 years. We'll look at how industries, jobs, and investment have been affected, and how the political landscape has shifted in response. By comparing the UK's performance to similar economies, especially those within the EU, we can begin to isolate the specific effects of Brexit. This approach helps us separate fact from speculation and provides a clearer picture of the UK's relative progress. We'll also examine how public opinion has evolved and how political parties have adapted their strategies in response to changing realities. The story of Brexit is not just about economics, but about people, voters, leaders, and communities navigating a new era. Ultimately, the story of Brexit is one of gradual adjustment rather than sudden crisis. It's a slow, ongoing process that has reshaped the nation's economy, politics, and daily life, requiring adaptation at every level of society. Nearly a decade on, we present a clear, evidence-based picture of the UK after the vote that changed its course, offering insight into what has been gained, what has been lost, and what the future may hold for a country still defining its new place in the world. The direst economic predictions after the Brexit vote didn't materialize. There was no immediate collapse, but beneath the surface, the UK economy has experienced a slow, persistent drag on growth. The Office for Budget Responsibility estimates UK GDP will be about 4% lower in the long run than if it had stayed in the EU. New trade barriers have made British businesses less competitive and disrupted supply chains. The UK is now less attractive for foreign investment, with many firms redirecting funds to the EU. Compared to other G7 nations, the UK's recovery from global shocks has been notably weaker. The evidence points to Brexit as a unique, ongoing headwind for the British economy. Measuring Brexit's true economic cost is challenging. There's no way to see the UK's alternate path. Economists use the doppelganger or synthetic control method, building a virtual UK from similar economies' data. This synthetic UK acts as a control group, showing what might have happened without Brexit. Comparing real UK performance to its doppelganger isolates the Brexit effect from global events. Studies consistently show the UK began lagging behind its synthetic twin soon after the referendum, with the gap widening post-2021. The initial divergence was driven by falling investment, then worsened by new trade barriers. This method offers compelling peer-reviewed evidence of Brexit's negative impact on UK output. One clear consequence of Brexit is the decline in UK trade intensity, exports and imports as a share of GDP. This means that, compared to before, the UK is now trading less with the rest of the world relative to the size of its economy. The numbers show a marked drop, especially when compared to other G7 countries, which have managed to maintain or even increase their trade intensity over the same period. While global trade rebounded after the pandemic, the UK's recovery has lagged, reflecting new structural barriers with the EU. European ports are bustling again, but UK ports remain quieter, and the difference is visible in everything from slower-moving goods to empty shelves in some UK stores. These challenges are not just temporary disruptions, they point to deeper, ongoing issues in the way the UK now does business with its largest trading partner. The Trade and Cooperation Agreement removed tariffs but introduced complex paperwork and regulatory checks. Every shipment now faces more scrutiny, with drivers and businesses spending extra hours on documentation and compliance. This has added both time and cost to cross-border trade, making it less efficient and more unpredictable for everyone involved. Small businesses in particular have struggled with these new costs, leading many to stop trading with the EU. For many, the burden of extra paperwork, new rules, and uncertainty has simply become too much. Some have had to close their doors, while others have shifted focus away from international markets altogether, reducing opportunities for growth. Sectors like food, drink, and services have been hit hard by border checks and lost market access. Perishable goods face delays, restaurants struggle with supply shortages, and service providers find it harder to reach EU clients. The ripple effects are felt across the economy, impacting jobs and consumer choice. New UK trade deals haven't compensated for lost EU trade, given the EU's proximity and scale. While agreements with other countries have been signed, they cannot match the volume or ease of access that the EU once provided. The loss is especially significant for industries that relied on fast, frictionless trade with nearby European markets. The persistent friction at the UK-EU border continues to drag on productivity and prosperity. Long queues, delays, and uncertainty have become part of daily life for many businesses, making it harder to plan and compete on a global stage. The UK remains less open and less competitive than before. As other G7 nations move forward, the UK faces the challenge of adapting to a new, more complicated trading environment, one that demands resilience, innovation, and a willingness to rethink how business is done. Brexit has also dampened business investment, a key driver of growth and productivity. Uncertainty after the referendum led many firms to pause or cancel investments, a trend that's persisted. The UK is now a less attractive base for companies serving Europe, and foreign direct investment has faltered. Business investment growth in the UK has lagged far behind other G7 countries since 2016. This investment deficit means slower adoption of new technologies and weaker productivity growth. Stagnant productivity has contributed to weak wage growth and living standards. Government incentives haven't reversed the trend, and the UK's reputation as a stable, connected economy has suffered. The investment gap will weigh on the UK's economic potential for years to come. After years of turmoil, Brexit has faded from the forefront of British politics. Both the Conservative and Labour parties now avoid the topic, treating Brexit as a settled issue. Conservatives focus on defending Brexit and pursuing independent trade deals, avoiding discussion of economic downsides. Labour has ruled out rejoining the EU or single market, aiming instead for modest improvements to the current deal. This cross-party consensus has narrowed political debate, leaving the UK on a stable, but economically suboptimal path. Economists and business groups highlight ongoing costs, but these rarely enter mainstream politics. The era of high-stakes Brexit battles is over, replaced by a risk-averse, managerial approach. The current framework is accepted as the reality for the foreseeable future. While politicians stay quiet, public opinion has shifted. Most Britons now believe Brexit was a mistake. Polls show a stable majority for Brexit, with Remain winning handily in hypothetical referendums. Economic realities, slower growth, higher prices, fewer opportunities, have replaced abstract debates about sovereignty. Demographic change has also played a role, as younger pro-Remain voters make up more of the electorate. Yet many Leave voters remain committed, citing sovereignty and control as enduring benefits. Despite regret, there's little appetite for another referendum or rejoining the EU. The public mood is one of resignation, focused on practical issues like the cost of living. This disconnect explains why political parties feel little pressure to revisit Brexit. The future of UK-EU relations remains a central but largely unspoken issue. The Trade and Cooperation Agreement will be reviewed in 2026, but major renegotiation is unlikely. Incremental improvements, like a veterinary deal or youth mobility agreements, are possible, softening Brexit's edges. A dramatic shift, such as rejoining the single market, would require a major change in public opinion and political will. For now, both parties are committed to the current framework, and the EU is focused elsewhere. The UK's path will be shaped by domestic politics, not external pressure. Until a party sees electoral advantage in closer ties, the status quo will persist. The UK continues to navigate life outside the EU, managing the ongoing consequences of that choice. 9 years after the Brexit vote, the United Kingdom stands as a nation fundamentally transformed. The echoes of that historic referendum still linger, shaping the country's identity and its place in the world. Catastrophe never came, but neither did the promised renaissance. Instead, the reality has been a slow, persistent economic drag, an undercurrent of uncertainty that has touched nearly every sector of British life. Trade friction at the borders, reduced foreign investment, and lower productivity have all combined to leave the UK's economic output below where it might have been had it remained in the EU. Businesses face new hurdles, and the flow of goods is no longer as seamless as before. In Parliament, a fragile political consensus has settled around accepting the current arrangement, even as public regret quietly grows. The optimism of the early days has faded, replaced by a more sober national mood. The once fiery debate has faded from daily conversation, replaced by a quiet sense of missed opportunity and what might have been. Many now reflect on the choices made, wondering about the paths not taken. The UK is less open and dynamic than before, with new trade deals struggling to offset the loss of easy access to the vast EU market. Hopes for a global Britain have given way to the realities of a more complicated trading landscape. The nation has adjusted to its new reality, but faces constrained horizons and incremental losses that accumulate over time. For many, the sense of possibility feels diminished. Brexit's legacy is not one of dramatic collapse, but of steady costs, a story of foregone gains, diminished influence, and a future that feels more isolated than before. As the UK looks ahead, it must navigate the enduring consequences of its historic decision, seeking new ways to define its role on the world stage, and to heal the divisions that remain.